Hi, everyone. We'll get started in a few minutes. We'll just give folks time to get signed on. Okay, so looks like we have a small but hopefully highly interested group today. Um, Before I turn it over to Kara to kind of walk through our content, so my name's Wyatt Scovran. I'm the Director of External Relations and Advocacy with RMA. Um, as you know, we've made a few changes to our resolution process, and we just want to make sure members have a good understanding of what those changes are, and if they do have any further questions that they know to ask. So in terms of how today will go, Kara, our Vice President and the Chair of our Resolutions Committee, will walk us through those changes. If you do have any questions during the presentation, uh, please use the Q&A box on Zoom, and we'll do our best to answer in real time, but if not, we'll come back to them at the end of the presentation. And we should hopefully have a few minutes for questions, verbal questions at the very end if you want to use the raise hand function. So that's kind of how we'll deal with the questions and answers today. And from there, I'll just turn it over to Kara and we'll get right into it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Wyatt. Well, I hope everybody is staying warm where they're at today. I know the cold weather is on its way, and here in Brazeau County, it's quite snowy. I've got about an inch of snow since this morning. Um, Normally, I would be complaining, but at this point in the year, I'm happy for whatever snow and moisture we get. So we'll jump into things right away. So, as many of you know, resolutions form a crucial part of the RMA's advocacy process. They make sure that we understand the issues that are most important to members across the province and allow members to have a direct role in shaping our priorities. As we have made some changes to the resolution process that will impact how resolutions are written, submitted, and debated on, beginning with district meetings underway next month, or actually, I should say this month, we want to get the word out to the members on what the changes are as soon as possible. So, before jumping right into the changes, we want to provide you a quick refresher on the purpose of resolutions from the RMA's perspective and why they're so important. From there, we will explain the RMA's resolution process policy, which guides all aspects of the resolution process and is the document in which the actual changes have been made. After we explain the changes themselves, we'll wrap up with a quick reminder about some key RMA resolution resources and allow some time for questions at the end. So, as the quote on the screen suggests, resolutions are really important for RMA. While our ultimate goal is to advocate for changes to solve the issues identified in each resolution, they are also valuable in helping us get a sense of what issues are most important to the membership and how that is changing across years. Looking at resolutions more operationally, what they really do is allow members to provide direct guidance to RMA in terms of issues to dedicate advocacy resources to and the positions to take on those specific issues. Although resolutions originate in single municipalities, since they require an endorsement by 60% or more of members, they should be focused on issues that are provincial in scope. As mentioned, other than providing specific direction on specific issues, they also help us plan our advocacy approach more broadly by reflecting trends in shifting pressures and challenges facing our municipalities. A quick example of this is the major increase in resolutions focusing on issues related to housing, social programming, addictions, and other social issues in recent years. We've seen this as a sign of shifting pressures on our members, and it informs our advocacy planning and resourcing. Well, that's what resolutions do. Our main focus today is to talk about how they work, and particularly about how a resolution goes from an idea within a single municipality into an official RMA advocacy position. All aspects of the process are laid out in the RMA's resolution process policy. Like all RMA policies, it is reviewed and, if needed, amended by the RMA board every 2 years. We make the resolutions process policy available on the RMA's website, in convention handbooks, and by request to ensure members can access it and understand how resolutions work. As you can see, the policy has quite a few sections that more or less flow in the same way that a resolution would evolve. The board has made changes to the policy in the area shaded in green, so those are the ones that I will be touching on today. And actually, I believe they are kind of a yellowy orange on our screens. Before we walk through the changes, I want to mention that there is a guide currently available that provides a similar overview of what the changes are, why they were made, and how they might impact the process from the perspective of a municipality. That guide is available on the resolution section of the website, or an RMA advocacy staff or board member can provide it to you upon request. Although we saw the sections of the actual policy in an earlier slide, it is quite a bit easier to work through the changes by thinking about the resolution process in 4 phases. Phase 1 is resolution writing. That happens at the municipal level, and the policy guides it by requiring each resolution to have specific sections in a particular format. Phase 2 is submitting and voting on a resolution at the district level. The policy requires that all resolutions pass through a district. Phase 3 is the main resolution session at RMA. The policy lays out the process for moving, debating, and voting on resolutions. Phase 4 is resolution advocacy and reporting. The policy provides some guidance on how RMA reports to members on the status of endorsed resolutions. With that, let's get started with the changes made under the resolution writing process. The first change made in the policy is to include a section encouraging resolution operative clauses, often referred to as the resolution ask, to focus more on outcomes rather than specific changes to a particular piece of legislation. What we found is that resolutions that seek a very specific change, such as changing a word in an act, have a lower likelihood of success than a resolution that allows for more paths to a possible solution. The policy does not make this mandatory, but does formalize it as a strategic preference. It also allows the resolutions committee, which consists of 1 member from each district, to work with resolution sponsors to adjust a resolution to have a more specific ask after the resolution is passed at the district level. The next change in the resolution writing stage is to limit the length of the resolution background section to 1,000 words. The resolution background is intended to provide additional context to why the resolution is important or what brought on the problem. There is no requirements as to the format, so some background sections will be a sentence or 2, while others could be 10 pages long. We found that a very long background section can be counterproductive, as it provides so much information that it can water down the actual ask. The other issue is that when building the resolutions package, very long backgrounds can make it more difficult for members to read through during the convention. This limit will ensure that background sections focus on information directly related to the issue and make resolutions more consistent in terms of length and format. The last change in the resolutions writing phase is more focused on RMA than on its members. Part of supporting strong resolutions is providing members with guidance and support throughout the process. For that reason, the policy now lays out the type of resources that RMA provides members related to the resolutions. The policy lays out that RMA provides documents such as templates, FAQs, writing tips, and others, that we offer members at least one resolution writing webinar per year, and that we designate and share with members a specific staff member to provide resolution-related help. We're going to shift into phase 2 now. The district submission process. There are just 2 changes, both relating to timing. The first one is the requirement for district chairs to share resolutions with RMA before district meetings. The policy specifically requires that RMA have at least 3 business days to review resolutions. On this change, it's important to emphasize that the only purpose of the review process is to ensure that all resolutions are in the proper format and include all the required sections. RMA will not give any feedback or make any changes to the resolution context or ask in the pre-district meeting review. We found that each year a few resolutions are approved at the district level and sent to us with sections missing, usually a background section. It should be much easier to address this before resolutions are reviewed at the district, and will ensure that the version voted on at the district level does not change significantly when it's reviewed and voted on at the convention. This might have some impacts on when districts have to finalize their agenda packages and any deadlines that they have for members to submit their resolutions. Next up on phase 2 is a requirement that districts submit resolutions passed at a district meeting to RMA within 1 week of the district meeting. We often have issues where, despite a district meeting being quite far in advance of the convention, districts do not provide RMA with resolutions until the last minute. This puts a lot of pressure on RMA staff to make sure that wording and format changes, as well as building the package, becomes under very tight timelines for us. Moving into phase 3, which focuses on the resolution session during the RMA convention. For most people, this is the most visible part of the entire resolution process. It's very important that this process be formal and allow adequate debate of resolutions, but should also move as efficiently as possible, especially as we seem to get more and more resolutions on the order paper each year. All of the changes to this phase are fairly minor and intended strictly to shorten up the process slightly. The first change is to remove the requirement for resolutions to be seconded. The intent of a seconder is to confirm that at least one other voter in the room supports the resolution's intent, and it's not being driven by a single member. Since resolutions must be passed through districts, we have already know that several members are in support, so the seconder is no longer needed. We've also removed the requirement for members to accept the order paper. This vote takes place with a show of hands. Similarly to the seconder, all of the resolutions on the order paper have already been endorsed at the district level, or in the case of emergent resolutions, accepted by the RMA Resolutions Committee. In terms of identifying errors or typos, the order paper is publicly available several weeks in advance, so there's plenty of time for members to review and alert RMA well ahead of the session itself. The last change to the session is to remove the requirement for the resolutions committee members to read the full title and operative clause of the resolutions. Some of you may recall we had a resolution session run way over time last year, and as such, I chose to stop the reading of the resolution information to provide the process to move along a little bit faster. Removing this will allow that option going forward. It's important to emphasize that we plan to continue to have our committee members read the title and operative clauses moving forward, but this now allows for some more flexibility in cases when the session is running too long. Now moving into the last section, which focuses on what happens after resolutions are endorsed. The first change is simply to add into policy some clarification around how RMA reports on resolutions. We've heard questions from some members unsure of how RMA advocates and reports on resolutions, so we thought that adding this into the policy would improve our transparency. To do this, we've added an entire new section to the policy, Section I, titled Resolution Reporting. While this section does not go into specifics on how we advocate, since that varies resolution to resolution, it does clarify that we will publish 2 resolution status updates each year, keep the resolutions database on the RMA website up to date, and provide a monthly update in our contact newsletter on a rotating selection of the resolutions. Now, the final changes to highlight is added clarity on how RMA receives and acts on resolutions just received prior to convention. While we take different approaches on how we react to different resolutions based on things like our familiarity with the issue, with whether it is already on government's radar, etc., we have always followed an identical formal process for all, in which we send a letter to the responsible ministry seeking their response on the resolution asked. Based on that response, we will assign the resolution an initial status in the following resolution status update. Adding this to the policy will make sure that members are aware of this process and that RMA continues to do this moving forward, even as board and staff change in the future. So that does it for the major changes. But before we wrap up and get to questions and any discussion, I wanted to highlight some resolution resources available for our members. And I believe Wyatt's been keeping us up to date in the chat bar too as well. All of the tools listed on the slide are available in the resolution section of RMA's website. One of the best resources to support resolution development is the resource database. Every resolution passed by RMA members since 2000 is housed here. So you can get a great sense of different strategies related to scope, ask, etc. We also have lots more targeted sources such as the FAQs, resolution writing tips, a template, and others. Staff will be updating these in the coming months to make sure that they're as current as possible, but the versions available now are very helpful as well. And with that, I think I've done enough chatting for this morning. We are happy to answer any questions about the changes or any other aspects about the process if you have any. I believe Wyatt has let you know that we do have the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Well, it's at the bottom of mine, so I'm assuming it's at the bottom of everyone else's. You can raise your hand or type in the Q&A box if you've got any questions for us. I know it was a lot of information, but I think a lot of the changes that we have coming are more common sense. And again, they help, I think they'll help immensely, especially when we're doing the resolution session at convention. It's just going to help with the timing and the smoothing out of the process a little bit. And then the other stuff, the other proposed changes that we have recommended in there, again, just to help our membership when writing their resolutions, when taking them to the district level, and smoothing out the process as best as that we can. So I think, Wyatt, we're going to get off easy today. I have to thank staff. They, especially Wyatt and his team today, they have done all the background work and all the preparation, not only for the webinar today, but all the proposed changes that are taking place. So Wyatt, thank you for that. I know it's not an easy task some days, so I really appreciate that work that goes into it. I know a lot of people talk about our resolution session and how smooth it runs. But again, I cannot thank our staff enough, because that process wouldn't be as smooth as it is without them and the work that's being done in the background. So, and I know anybody that's on the webinar now, if they've put a resolution together, they do know it is a bit of a process, but it's truly a team effort when we go to work on this. So.
And I'd just maybe add one more thing. So in terms of this being a lot of information, I did share in the chat box a link to the guide that kind of provides a little bit more detail about sort of the rationale behind some of the changes, if there's any that you're a bit unsure about. We're also recording these, and we'll make the videos available through contact in the next couple of weeks. And then any questions at all, on this or any aspect of resolutions, Kara or myself, feel free to reach out and we'll get you an answer.
Yeah, and I think Wyatt, you touched on it. If you're in the process of writing a resolution, even before you take it to your district level, you can definitely reach out to Wyatt or myself beforehand if you've got any questions or need any help putting it together. That's what we're here for. So um, we're always happy to help. So Wyatt, I think we are going to get off easy today. See, you have me so prepared that there's no questions. And I agree with Wyatt. It is a lot of information to take in. And it's easy to sit and listen, but when you actually go to write the resolution or we have staff do it in our own municipalities, that's generally when I find the questions start arising when they're putting together a resolution. So again, we can't emphasize enough. If you have any questions or need any help, just reach out to us and we're more than welcome to set up a video link or a quick call over the phone, email, whichever you prefer, and we can help you through that process. So. But I don't think there's going to be any questions. So you know what? How about I give everybody back? It's close to, they're going to get about 38 minutes, I believe, back to their day. So anybody that's on the call, if you're working, we're not going to, we won't report to your bosses that we gave you 38 minutes.
Except Warren. I'm going to let his bosses know.
Well, excellent. With that, again, thank you, Wyatt. Thank you to the team for hosting and putting everything together for today. And for those of you that are in the part of the province getting the wind and the snow right now, please stay safe, drive safe. And looking into the future forecast, please stay warm this weekend. And we look forward to seeing everybody at the district meetings. I believe we've got a few starting up here, not next week, but the week after. So we look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you.